Well, welcome to the program. The Russia-Ukraine war keeps impacting global food supply chains, and Ghana's major export earner, being cocoa, is not left out. The chief executive of COCOBOD, Joseph Boahin-Adu, says the situation has skyrocketed fertilizer prices, making it next to impossible to import the needed ingredients for cocoa cultivation. Take a listen to him, especially when he's called for an emergency national strategy for cocoa farmers, saying the acute shortage of fertilizer will last for not less than 2 years.
The coming years is going to be very difficult for us as a sector and also for our farmers because, the war in Ukraine has also come to compound the adverse effects of the COVID pandemic, to the extent that the basic ingredients or elements needed in producing fertilizers and other chemicals are going to be difficult to come by. So we have to brace ourselves for the coming years, maybe 1 or 2 years, and expect that prices of fertilizers are not going to be the same. Even getting the quantities, the fertilizers, the quantities, because essentially, the very basic elements that are needed to produce the fertilizers will not be there because of the war. So it will mean that management committee will have to come up with strategic direction, and then some strategic guidelines for our farmers. It has also affected all the parts of the industry, including the Cocoa Research Institute. So in these difficult times, we are calling on the new management to give leadership. There's one issue: show your class. We want you to provide the leadership that will ensure prudence in the management of affairs at Cocoa Research Institute. We believe that, with time, we will overcome these difficulties. The situation has also been aggravated by the attack in Ukraine, that the ongoing war in Ukraine. And CREC is going to be more affected because you are talking about the active ingredients that will be needed in the production of essential inputs, fertilizers and chemicals. Ukraine is affected, so getting our sulfate ammonia is going to be difficult. The same Belarus, and then Russia. These are the centers where we get these basic, elements.
And we're expecting to speak to the head of public affairs at COCOBOD, Fifi Boafo, on this matter, especially when we shall be exploring the best avenues that COCOBOD will be taking. A national strategy, it seems, to cushion cocoa farmers from the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war. We're working the lines to get in touch with Fifi Boafo. When we get him, we shall have this discussion with him. You're still watching The Marketplace. We now get back to our development story, where we are looking at the impact of the Russia-Ukraine war on cocoa yields in Ghana. Head of Public Affairs at COCOBOD, Fifi Boafo, joins us for more. Fifi, we're grateful that you could join us. To what extent has Ghana's cocoa sector been affected by development in Ukraine?
Well, at present, it is difficult to tell, except that we acknowledge that it has some possible effect on the industry. Thus, we say so because if we do our analysis, we know that there are some buyers who buy from Ghana and then also sell to companies in Russia and then also in Ukraine. They have yet to give us an indication that considering what is happening in Russia and Ukraine, they will not be able to continue selling to them, which will have effect on their business, and then also how the quantities they buy from us. So that's one side of it. Another potential effect we have on our business has to do with the fertilizers we import, because you'll recall that a few weeks ago, the president talked about the fact that about 30% of the fertilizers used in Ghana is actually procured from Russia. Also, the base that is used for the manufacturing of fertilizer is also sourced from that country. So certainly, considering what is happening there, it has some possible effect on our industry, but it is too early for us to be able to quantify the effect it will have on our industry.
Indeed, but of course the chief executive has also called for an emergency of a national strategy of a sort to cushion cocoa farmers. In what shape could this take?
Well, the chief executive talked about the fact that if you look at the policy we've used as a country in terms of fertilizer distribution to farmers, none of them has yielded the desired result, and there's a need for us as a country to have a definite position on the way forward. He says so because if we look at the free fertilizer policy that has been implemented, it had its own challenges. For example, people smuggling it across the country, people selling it and not giving it to the farmers, who are the people expected to be the beneficiaries of the policy. The other side of it is also the issue about subsidized fertilizers. These are subsidized, and then the expectation is that farmers will take it and pay the remaining amount of money. But we have a huge politicization of this process such that farmers take it and they are under the impression that they are not supposed to pay, because indeed politicians go and tell them don't pay, because if I should win power, no matter the quantities you've taken, you are not supposed to pay. But it's a business the farmers are running. The expectation is that when they take it and pay, the board will have the capacity to also procure and let them have it the subsequent years. So you have these farmers who have taken the fertilizers, they are not paying, and they are also demanding, when are we getting our next year allocation? So there's a need for us as a nation to take a decision that this is what works for us, take away the politicization of it, and find a means of addressing the issue as something that confronts us as a country. Do we do the outright sale? Is it a free fertilizer? Is it the subsidized? These are the challenges we have. So we do both the plus and the minuses of each of the policies. And then we all come to a conclusion that this is what works for us as a country. And then we take away the politicization of it and implement the one that works for us in order to build an industry that serves us as a people.
Indeed, and we shall continue monitoring this, of course, from your end as well. We appreciate your input. But just before we let you go, Fifi, there is this matter regarding some fresh news indicating that Cadbury is facing some accusations of assault when it comes to child labor on cocoa farms in Ghana. We know that COCOBOD has been putting so much effort in dealing with such cases. Walk us through some of the role that your establishment continues to embark on to ensure that, children are safe when it comes to plowing the land, tilling the land of cocoa farms.
Well, it's a concern anytime we hear that child labor is an issue in our country, and the expectation is that these concerns will be addressed and we will not continue to have this problem on our hands as a country. But Ghana COCOBOD, for example, if we look at the interventions we've rolled out, we are making sure that the application of chemicals, the pruning, these are done largely by staff of COCOBOD who COCOBOD pay. So in pollination, for example, is that say that kids from anywhere are involved in that process. However, there are some activities that are undertaken by the cocoa farmers themselves, And unfortunately, that is where sometimes you have some of these reports coming in. Even though we do not